Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. So we are doing another declutter. I know I just did my nail polish, but I'm trying to just declutter things before the new year. I've already went through my clothes and shoes here recently and got rid of a lot of things that I just wasn't wearing. And then I went through my nail polish, you saw that. So now I'm going to start on my collection. I'm going to start with my brushes today, which will be like a separate video. They just kind of live up here. So I'm going to bring them down. I may have to adjust the camera so y'all can see. It's always hard for me to figure out like what camera angle to use with these. Yeah, you're a little bit high still. So once I get them down here, we'll kind of adjust. Okay, so I'm going to start with my face brushes first because there's not as many of them. I mean, it's still a lot, but it's not as much as my eye brushes. And then I have this little bowl here that I'm going to put the brushes in that I'm decluttering. Now, I'm probably not going to declutter a ton, but there are just brushes that I have just to have. I'm a brush hoarder. If someone gives me a brush or I buy a brush at the dollar store or anything, I'm going to keep it even if it's no good and I never use it, just because I'm actually a brush hoarder. It's ridiculous. I'm going to start with these down here. This is a e.l.f. like kabuki brush, and this is one that I kind of forget about because it doesn't fit in my holders, but I actually really do like this brush, and I'm thinking if I get some of my other stuff decluttered, I'll notice this more and actually use it because I really do like this brush. So I am going to hold on to this one. This came, I don't even remember how I got this. This is a little Bare Minerals brush. I've never used this. I never had any intentions of using this, but I kept it because it's a brush and I'm a weirdo and it's never been used. It's brand new. I did just wash all of my brushes, so some of them may look a little damp, especially the eye brushes, because I did my face brushes last night, so they're pretty much dry. But my eye brushes, you'll see when we get to that, they are a little bit wet still. But anyway, so I'm definitely decluttering this one. I'm just going to stick it down in there. Actually, you know what? Let me take these out and separate them by like category, and then we can either put them in the good holder or the giveaway holder, or yeah, that's what we'll do. Okay, so first I have these 4 brushes, and these are the ones that I use for highlighting. I have 2 fan brushes and a stippling brush, and then this more like densely packed tapered brush, which is what I usually use for if I want a really intense highlight. So you have like one for really intense, a little bit less intense, and then like if you just want a very detailed highlight, I use these. Okay, so I'm definitely keeping this one. This is my main highlighting brush, so it'll go in there, and I'm keeping my stippling brush. I do not need 2 fan brushes, and this one's by e.l.f. and I have no idea what this one's from. If you see this pink handle and the pink bristles, I think these were like from the dollar store, like in a pack. My sister actually gave these to me, but these are actually really good brushes. I wish I knew what the brand was or how you could get these, but I honestly have no idea. I'll ask her and see if she remembers, and if she lets me know, I will let you all know. But anyway, I'm actually going to keep the pink one, and the e.l.f. one I'm going to pass on, so it's going to go in here. These are actually going to my friend Autumn. She doesn't even know that. Autumn, if you're watching this, you got some brushes coming your way. But because they're not bad brushes, it ain't that I'm getting rid of them because they're no good. It's just I don't need them or don't use them for whatever reason. And a lot of the brushes I'm going to be getting rid of are probably ones that I started off with, and I've gradually just kind of grew my collection and bought things that I liked better. So yeah, these, and like I said, they are all freshly washed and ready to go. But yeah, those will be going to my friend Autumn. Okay, next I have this. This is the only bronzing brush that I have. This is the Real Techniques 100, and I just love this brush. It's kind of like a tapered domed brush, and this is what I use for bronzing, and it's the, like I said, the only one I have, so that's definitely staying. Next is my big powder brush. This was a very expensive brush. This is a It Cosmetics. I don't know why I was having trouble with that. But this is their Live Beautifully powder brush. What's this called actually? all over powder, and there was a number, but it's all wore off. But this was like a special collection that came out, and well, I think they may still have them. I'm not sure. But I did buy several of them, and this is like one of the very first big purchases as far as brushes that I made. So this one's definitely staying. It will never leave my collection, I don't suspect. Okay, next let's do contouring. So I have these two brushes. This one is a Real Techniques. It's the 301, and this is what I use to contour my cheeks if I want kind of a harsh contour. Yeah, that one's still got some stuff on it. But, yeah, this is kind of what I use if I want a really harsh contour, which was not all the time. But every once in a while I do get in the mood, so I am keeping that one. There won't be very many in this face section because I use most of them. This is that little e.l.f. one that I use to contour my nose. You all know I love that, so it's staying. Okay, I have this foundation brush. I do not use brushes like this. I either use a sponge or one of my RT Stoop brushes. So this one's actually going to go. Okay, speaking of my RT brushes. So I have these 5. The biggest one is what I use most of the time to put on my foundation, even over a sponge. So this one's definitely staying. Okay, and I only use these for cream products. I'm not a fan of using Artis brushes for, I'm just going to call them that because that's just what everyone associates it with. It's not that brand. This is the True Beauty brand, but they're actually really, really good. But I only like these for blending out cream products. I just can't get the angle right for powder. So I'm not going to be keeping all these. This second biggest one would also be like a good foundation brush, but I don't need 2, so I'm giving this one to Autumn. Like I said, I'm keeping the biggest one and giving her the second one down because, I don't know, I just tend to use the biggest one, but this one would work just as good. And then the only other thing I really use these for is to blend out like under eye concealer or cream contour. I use this one for under eye concealer, so I'm going to keep that one. And then I'll probably give her this second smallest one because she could use it for concealer because I've used it as well for concealer. Or she could use it for cream contour or whatever she want to do. And then I'll keep this one for like cream blushes or cream contour or something like that. Okay, speaking of blushes, I have 2 blush brushes. This one is one of the Live Beautifully It Cosmetic brushes. I love this brush. This is what I use if I'm using like a more subtle blush and I can really pack it on with this one and it blends it out beautifully, so I love that. And then if I'm using kind of like a darker blush, you can see this one's just a little bit smaller, but it's so soft. It's just as soft, honestly. I don't know what brand these are. I wish I did because it's, again, that pink handle. But it's not as densely packed, but the bristles themselves are actually really, really, really soft. So I'm keeping this because I use that for like darker colors that I need to be a little bit more precise about. And then lastly, I have this little tapered brush, and this I use to set my under eye concealer, or like if I do my eye makeup first and I conceal my eyelids, I'll set it with that. So I use that one a lot for just detailed setting. Okay, next I'm going to go into this little Minnie Mouse set. I bought the whole collection, but these are just, they're not bad, but they're just a little bit rougher than other ones, like this powder brush here, or not powder, but this is like a angled blush brush. It's not as soft as this pink one even, but it's still good. It would work, but I just never use these. I never reach for these. Now I did all the time use this little angled eyeliner eyebrow brush. This is what I did my eyebrows with most of the time, but I did buy a new brush for that, so I'm not going to hang on to this collection just for that, but I didn't want to split them up. And then every great once in a while I would use this blending brush, but I have since bought several more that I like better, or at least just as much. But these are just a little bit rougher. These fluffy ones are just a little bit rougher than what I prefer. The eyeliner brush is really good. And then there was this little flat like shader brush, and honestly I just don't use brushes like this a whole lot, and there's just no need for me keeping this. So I'm actually going to give this whole set to Autumn if she wants it. If she don't want it, then you know, I can give it to somebody else, but this is going. So I'm just going to sit it back here. Okay, so that's all my face brushes, so I'm just going to sit them back up here in their little home. And then I just have my beauty sponge. I used to keep it in this little glass cup, but it made the cup really dirty all the time. So I actually just put my little sample perfumes in here so that I'll see them, because I forget to use these. And I really do like these fragrances, but it's just I always forget to reach for them because they're in a drawer. So I thought if I set them out that I would be more apt to actually use them. So I used that little cup for that instead. Okay, so for the biggest part, this is ridiculous. I don't need all these brushes. I don't use all these brushes. I do use a lot of them, but most of the time I'm digging through trying to find the brush that I really like, which is just ridiculous. So there's absolutely no point in me keeping all these just to be keeping them, because it's getting really crowded in here. And yeah, so I'm going to take all these out and do the same as I did with the face brushes and kind of organize them by like what their function is or whatever. Okay, I'm going to start here because these are my 5 most used brushes. These are just like your tapered blending brushes. This one's a little bit more fluffy, which I like because it's different. This actually came with the Beauty and the Beast palette. And 2 of these are double-ended. I never use these ends because I don't see them, because I always store them with this side up. But yeah, so I have this one, which I don't know the brand. This one comes with the Beauty and the Beast palette. This is a Real Techniques brush. It's the 206, I think is what it says. Oh no, 203. 203, I really like it. This one is the Rite Aid brand, Renewal. And this one is, what are you? This is actually an LA Colors brush. So these are my 5 most used brushes. So definitely keeping all 5 of them. Okay, let's go to these Artis brushes. I just don't use these. I don't like I said, I don't like to use these with powdered products, and I just can't get anything blended the way I want to with these. And I thought about using them with eyeliner and things like that, but I just don't. So I'm actually going to give these to Autumn because I'm just not going to use these. Now let's go into these. These are kind of like fluffy, like shader brushes. They're not real flat. They've got a little bit of fluff to them, but they're not like crease brushes either. This is actually one of the very first brushes I ever had. This used to be, it was basically this and maybe one other eye brush that I used for years. I really don't use it all that much anymore. Really hardly ever. I just don't use brushes like this very much anymore. But these 2 are a lot alike, and honestly, yeah, they're basically like the same brush. I did buy this one. This one's an LA Colors one. It came with the little blender brush that I showed you. But I'm going to keep my blue one just for like nostalgic reasons, and they're basically like the same brush. This one might be just a little bit denser, but I'm going to keep the blue one, and I'm going to pass this one on. And then these 2 are basically the same brush. This one looks a little thinner because it's still kind of wet, but they're just little shader brushes that's just a little bit fluffy. This one came in a Tarte palette. I think it was it Bunny's palette? Maybe Graveyard Girl Bunny palette. I'm going to keep that one, and this was an elf one. I'm going to pass it on because I just don't use it, even though I bought this one. It's just not something I use. Next, I have these lip brushes, and I do not use lip brushes ever, not for lips. If I use these, it's to do like some precise glitter work or whatever. Let's see. Honestly, this one's probably too big for that, so I'm going to pass it on. And this one's probably too small. This is, I don't know, maybe that's what I need. I don't know. No, I think if I was going to reach for a glitter brush, I probably would reach for the small one. So I'm going to keep this one and get rid of the 2 pink ones. I have like these flat brushes. I use this one to like apply glitter glue and things like that. I'll always reach for this one for that. It's a Wet n Wild brush, so I'm going to keep that one. I don't know. This one came with the Urban Decay Naked palette, which is one of the very first palettes I had. So this was like, it was this one and that blue one is what I did all my eyeshadow with pretty much. I think if I was going to keep, because I don't need all these. These are all basically the same. I am going to keep this one because it is double-ended. And it does have the little flat side, but then it has like this little fluffy side as well. And really, I use that more for like some detail. So I'm actually going to put the fluffy side up on that one. And then I think I'll just keep my Urban Decay one. And I'm going to pass... What about this one? Do I want this one? I think this is another Tarte one actually, but I just don't need it. So I'm going to pass these 3 on. Okay, now I have another little, kind of like a brush like that, only it's just a little bit fluffier. And I actually kind of do like this one for a little bit of detail work, so I'm going to keep that. And then this one came in the Electric palette, I think. Yeah, Urban Decay Electric palette. And it's another one of those kind of like flat, but still kind of fluffy brushes. But I love the little tiny detail brush on the other end, so I'm actually going to keep that. I do store it this way just because this one you can't really mess up, but this one you could. And I do use both sides. I do use this one actually pretty often if I use that type of brush. So I'm going to keep that. Okay, I have this brush that's like for blending out concealer. I don't use that. I'm going to pass that on. Okay, I have this brush by Wet n Wild. This is what I use to put my all over lid shade, so definitely keeping that. And then this is kind of like a fluffy crease brush. Actually, that's probably exactly what it's called. No, this is all over shadow, but this is usually what I go in with my very first transition if I want a really blown out look. This is a It Cosmetics one. I bought all these and spent pretty good money on them, so chances are I like all these brushes, which I do. So I'm definitely keeping that one. Okay, and then these are brushes that I have for smudging kind of underneath the lash line. I have one that's kind of, they're all very dense, but this one is like if you want a more blown out look. This one's a little bit more precise, and then this one's like you can get right on the lash line. I do use all 3 of these, so I'm keeping them. This is what I use to highlight my inner corner a lot, or my brow bone. This is the small shadow brush by It Cosmetics. Definitely keeping that. Okay, so these 2 brushes, they are basically the same thing, only this one is double-ended, but I never use this side. Oh, this is hard. This one's a little bit more tapered, the black, just the plain black one. This one came in my Alice in Wonderland palette, and I have a hard time getting rid of like brushes that come in palettes, especially if they're like high-end or whatever. It was like this little Tarte one. This was like really hard for me to get rid of, even though I never use it. Like, I didn't want to get rid of it, but I'm going to because I never use it. I do use both of these. Yeah, I do use both of these. I'm actually just going to keep them. Okay, next I have 2 of these little smudgy, like spongy things. Never use these. Passing those on. Oops. Okay, and then I have 2 of these like eyeliner brushes. This is the e.l.f. one, and then this is that pink that I don't know what the brand is. The e.l.f. is just a little bit smaller, more precise, so this is the one I always use if I use one of those brushes, which I haven't in a long time because I haven't had my cream eyeliner, but I just rebought my e.l.f. cream eyeliner in black. They haven't had it at my Walmart in forever, and last time I went they had it, and I was so excited, so I probably will be getting some more use out of that little brush. Okay, and then I have 2 angled brushes. This one is the It Cosmetics Live Beautifully one, and I like it if I'm going to actually use this for a cream eyeliner as well if I want more of a bold eyeliner. And then this is the one that actually replaced my brow brush, the one that was in the Minnie Mouse set. And this is actually a Wet n Wild, and if you've noticed my eyebrows being a little bit more subtle lately, it's because of this brush. I really like the way it's making my eyebrows look, so I love this, which is why I'm able to get rid of this entire set, because I wasn't going to split them up, because I'm weird. Okay, and then we have some angled brushes. Every great once in a while, I will use like a fluffy angled brush. These are basically the exact same brush. I think they probably are actually, so I don't need both, so I'm just going to keep one and pass on the other. And these are two angled brushes. This one's kind of a sharp edge and it's a lot shorter, and so I just never use this one. And this one, to be honest, I never used it either, so I'm going to get rid of that. So that's what my eye brushes look like now. I think that looks so much better, and I actually do like every brush in here, so that makes me really, really excited. So I'm going to stick it back up here in its little home. And here is what we are getting rid of. I'm going to count real quick to see how many brushes we are getting rid of. Okay, so we are getting rid of 25 brushes, which leaves us with 37 that we are keeping. So I'm actually really, really proud of myself and excited about that. And I think Autumn will be excited to get these. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with these. They're just not what I reach for over other brushes that I have. So there was no point in me keeping them. And my little collection up here looks so much neater. I know it's out of focus so you can't see. But it does, like, especially my eye brushes. It was just so full and overflowing. So yeah, I really needed to cut that down, so that was the majority of what I got rid of. But I'm really, really excited and happy about this. I hope you all enjoyed. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and stay tuned because we will be doing my makeup collection next. There won't be a ton of things I'm getting rid of, but I do need to just declutter. My collection isn't huge, but I don't want to go into the new year with items that I'm not going to use. So yeah, that's it. I love you guys, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.